Hey everyone, what's up? It's Coach Burnett. This is going to be the first YouTube video. I have an Instagram where I mostly post all of my videos, my informative stuff, but I thought YouTube would be a good outlet to be able to post some more content where I can tend to ramble a little bit more and go on for more than just a minute or 2 minutes at max without having to go live and do any other stuff. So let me know if you guys like this format of video. I'm going to take a lot of inspiration from natural hypertrophy and just kind of sitting here in my garage and just kind of rambling. I have a topic, I have some notes. I'm just going to cover that. So, as the video description will tell you, or as the video title will tell you guys, this is just going to be my first video of it's going to be practical tips for taller lifters. Me, myself, my stats, I'm 6'2, currently I weigh 195 pounds. I've been training for about 6 years, almost to the 7 year mark. So I thought I had some very good actionable or very good practical advice to give people that are on the taller, so 6 foot and over, or people that generally are longer limbed that maybe can use some of this information to help their own training, their own lifting journey, their own muscle building journey that they're going on. So we'll get straight into it. So I have 4 tips or 4 practical tips to give everybody here, and I just have some little sub points, and we will just start at the very top. So if you're a taller lifter and you're going at it for more muscle mass than the average Joe, more muscle mass than just somebody that's wanting to spend the weekend in the gym here and there, and you're wanting to kind of go hardcore, it's going to take you a lot longer to fill out your frame. So you need to be in it for the long run if you're really wanting to build the muscle. You can't just be in it for a year or two at a time and then stop. You have to be willing to put in the work. Where it may take, me, I'm 195 pounds right now. It may take me until I'm 220, 230 to really look like I've filled out at 6'2". So if I just quit right now at 195, I have some decent gains. I think I look pretty decent, but I know I can milk a lot more gains out of it in the long run. So it's going to take me a lot longer. Whereas, not to put anybody down, but where somebody that's shorter, they might be very filled out at 195 pounds. That may be way on the upper end to where they're kind of getting to the limits of their genetic potential. But for me, just at 195 pounds, 6'2", I feel like I'm just getting started. So I know I still have a lot. I'm right in that intermediate. So I know I still have a lot more that I can get out of this. So being taller, another good thing for us is we have a greater potential for size. It just takes longer to get to that size. So it's right in there with that being in it for the long run and being accepting that it's going to take you. It might take somebody 5 to 10 years to build. It may take you 15 or so years to build to have a very respectable or very good physique, something that you're really looking for. And the last tip that I have for being in it for the long run is don't set a goal weight and just shoot for it and hit it. I did that previously. I had 220 pounds was my set goal weight, and I got to 220 pounds, and I'll tell you that I was fat. I wasn't obese, it wasn't crazy, but I was just fat, and training was a lot harder. I was not necessarily at a healthy body fat percentage. So don't set a goal weight, just shoot for that weight just to get there and say that you're there, because your body composition at that weight may not be exactly what you're looking for. I know right now the whole stigma behind everything is if you're 200 or if you're a man and you're under 200 pounds, you're not a man. Don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to any of that advice. If I wanted to, within a week or two, I could get to 200 pounds, 210, but my body composition isn't going to be what I want it to be. That's not saying that I can't gain any fat, but the rate of fat and muscle gain that I'm going for is just slow over time versus just getting to an objective weight to say I'm at that objective weight. Because what matters is how I feel about it, the goals that I have, the size goals that I have over the long term, and not what anybody else is thinking or how anybody else feels about it, just me. So my next tip, be careful with the exercise advice you take from shorter lifters. And that's not, again, to put anybody down, but you don't have to barbell squat to have big legs whenever you're tall. If you like to do it, go ahead and do it, but you don't necessarily have to do that just to have bigger legs. I've been experimenting a lot more with doing less strict movements or less common exercises, just to try and find what I feel really works well for me. And something that I'm realizing is I've been making my best leg gains or my best quad size gains, and I haven't barbell back squatted in, I want to say, 4 or 5 months now. And there's nothing, I do enjoy back squatting. And so at some point I will work that back in my routine, but you do not have to do it. And the more that I've been able to push it away instead of forcing myself to back squat because other people say that I have to back squat, it has just been able to, I've been able to make better gains, and I've been able to tear up my body a lot less. Everybody's made to squat because that is a normal human movement pattern and everybody can do it, but that doesn't mean it might be the best for you to do. I've also realized, for me at least, that widening my stance a lot more in my squats has been helping me kind of get more out of it, where my longer limbs It is not, I'm not as advantaged in the squat position. I'm a lot more advantaged for deadlifts just because I don't have to, I can be at a lot more hunched over position with while still keeping a straight back and not having to lean back as much. But for squats, I'm just not made to squat the best, but I can still squat, and I'm finding which variations, Bulgarian split squats, hack squats, machine hack squats. I'm doing lunges, different things that leg presses, different things that work for me and that I still know I'm making good gains on. So stick to those things that you know are making, that you're making your best gains on. And you can work back squats in if you want to, but just don't be so tied to them that you can't see yourself doing any other movement and still making great gains from anything else. And then my last tip for this: be careful with the advice that you take from lifters that may be shorter than you. Or it goes the same with every body parts, but this is especially for legs. But the same with all body parts. There's not a set. The only thing I've run into exercises where it either gives me trouble just because of my leverages and my height is mostly legs. I've not really, I can still bench press. I can still do a lot of other movements, and I've not found anything that is just kind of strange or something that I've really had to work around other than my legs, just because of my height advantage that I have. So, but keep that in mind where you may run into things where just the way that you're built, you don't like a certain movement, so you don't have to do bench press, you don't have to do deadlifts. You will have to do that movement pattern in a way. You will have to do, a chest press in some movement or some way. You will have to do some type of deadlift. It doesn't have to be a conventional deadlift. It could be a sumo deadlift. It can be a RDL. It can be a stiff-legged deadlift. You still need to do a hip hinge is what you need to do, but just keep that in mind that other movements may be very strange or may not work as well for you as for somebody with a lot different limb proportions than you or different height than you. So for number 3, range of motion is entirely different whenever you're tall or whenever you're above average in height. So for one, it's greater. And what I mean by this is somebody else's ass to grass, maybe you're parallel. Because you are so tall, the distance that it takes you to squat just a parallel may be the entire distance it takes somebody to squat ass to grass. So keep that in mind where we have been told, and I've fallen for this, and not until the last 2 or so years have I really gotten into the habit of not worrying about how, at least getting to parallel, but not worrying about getting ass to grass. I used to tell myself, you have to get ass to grass. It's not a real squat. Risking how much weight I had on the bar, of keeping it light because I had to get the ass to grass squat. But I'm not necessarily made to ass to grass squat with a barbell on my back and it be a very good thing for muscle building for me. So I'm not cutting the range of motion to do a quarter squat. I'm not cutting it to, barely squat. I'm getting at least a parallel. And there's other movements, where Bulgarian split squats where I'm going a lot lower. So I'm still getting that deeper range of motion in other movements, but my range of motion for me going to parallel is going to be somebody else's ass to grass, somebody going all the way deep down. Just of how long my legs are, it is still the same range of motion, but it's just it's not going to look the same just with how long your limbs are. So keep that in mind of, thinking that you have to go absolutely to the ground and all the way back up, because everybody's built different. So you may not be as advantaged at that position as somebody else are, or made to do it exactly in the same way as anybody else. So another thing that I've learned, and a good practical tip to keep in mind, is you may be weaker at some movements just because that range of motion is a lot longer. So me bench pressing, my arms are long. My wingspan is, I believe, about 6'5". I'm 6'2", so my wingspan is about 6'5", if I'm not mistaken. So me doing a bench press, the range of motion that it takes me to go all the way from the top, all the way down to my chest and back up, may be two reps for somebody else with shorter limbs. So keep in mind, them moving that weight for those 2 reps, they may need more weight to get the same type of stimulus or the same type of time under tension, if you will, as I'm getting just from that 1 rep. So where I may only be benching, the last time that I did bench, close grip bench, I was doing 155 for, I want to say it was 7 reps. Somebody else that is shorter than me at the same exact weight for me can probably do, or they should more than likely be able to do more than me. But that's just because I'm moving it through a longer range of motion, which, that does make me weaker. So I'm going to be weaker, but I'm doing more time under tension. So keep that in mind, that just because I'm lifting less weight doesn't mean I'm not stressing the muscle as much, or, I need to lift heavier. I need to go get that 225 bench, because then, at the same thing, I'm not a man. I'm not getting that 225 bench. It's not as heavy, but your muscles may be under, or they're going to be under a lot more tension because the range of motion that they're having to work through is a lot wider, I've had a lot of friends that they will bench more than me, and I've got to take the weight off the bar, and I've got to accept that I've got to take the weight off the bar to be able to give my muscles a proper stimulus, and really what I'm needing to get the set amount of reps that I'm getting, just because I'm moving through that deeper, that longer range of motion. So get that time under tension. I don't mean spend all the time under the bar, but remember, you're spending more time under tension, so your lifts may be weaker. So don't discredit yourself of, oh, you're just weak and you're not made for this. It is okay to be weaker, and you're going to build up to that strength. You're going to build up to that 225 bench whenever it is your time. And then the last practical tip that I have for you guys, so don't compare your body measurements to shorter lifters. And this is a pretty obvious one, but I thought it'd be worth stating just because I don't think a lot of people think about this. So just the limb lengths and the proportions that we have. My arms are 16 inches right now. It's nothing major. That's nothing very big. But somebody that is 5'8" with 16-inch arms, they're gonna look pretty massive. So for me, my arms will probably need to be upwards of 17, 18, aiming for maybe one day 19. That's what we're hoping for one day, is get 19-inch arms. And once my arms are that big, they're really going to look impressive. But if I compare myself to somebody that's 5'8" or a good bit shorter than me, I'm going to put myself down. I'm not going to feel very good about myself because my legs 25 inches right now, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody that's 5'8" with 16-inch arms, 25-inch legs, 15-inch calves, they're going to look pretty big, pretty respectable. But me at my height, I still essentially look like a long distance runner in a lot of aspects. In the right lighting and the right this, right that, I won't. But you cannot measure yourself, or you can't compare yourself, and you really shouldn't compare yourself to somebody else, just because what you need to do, and the way that I would go about looking at it from now on, is I would look at your past measurements, and I would continue to measure yourself against your past. And you can look at other people and compare and contrast, but don't use that as your actual goalpost. Use your previous measurements. So 2 years ago, my arms were 14 inches. So now they're 16 inches. And so I know I'm making progress 2 inches in 2 years, or 2 inches in a year, whatever I said, I forget now. That's amazing progress. And I'm not going to discredit myself for that at all. That is amazing progress to have made. And if I compare myself to somebody that is shorter than me, that looks bigger than me, then I'm just going to take away what I've worked for and what I know I've really pushed for, and what I deserve is congratulating myself on doing that. But now stepping back and knowing there's more work to do. So we're going to jump back in, continue, and we're going to complete that work as well. So, and the last little thing that I have for you tall guys, just because this is something that I did to myself and something that I think it just needs to be stated and it can't be stated enough, is don't limit your potential. So your potential for size is huge. And we have not seen very tall, like very, very tall. 6'2" is pretty tall, and I've seen some guys taller than me in the gym that I know there's potential for size is insane if they stick to it. But 6'2" is pretty tall for somebody that's into bodybuilding or into natural bodybuilding like I am. And so I really have no idea what my ceiling is. There is obviously a ceiling, and you cannot just get massive and massive and massive. That is not realistic, but we don't know what the real ceiling is of how much weight can I gain, how big can my arms get, how big can my legs get. Most of the fitness YouTubers and most of the people on YouTube and on Instagram, they're of a normal stature or of a slightly short stature, between 5'5" to 5'8" to 5'9". There's some people that are around 6 foot, but there's not that many people that are 6'2" that are really aiming for it. So if you're anywhere near my height, they're taller than me. And if you're taller than me, I say go for it, keep cracking at it, because your potential for size is so great. And we have not seen that many natural people that have really tried to max out their potential for size and get as massive as they can within reason, still staying healthy, no steroids, nothing crazy, but naturally max out their potential in size. So keep sticking at it. Let me know what you guys think of this video. If you guys like this format, if there's maybe another format that would work better. I really like this just because I can kind of sit here and rant, and this just kind of gives me more of an outlet to talk about stuff and other topics that you guys would like for me to cover. Me being my height, I don't know if there's that much interest in bodybuilding advice for my height, but I'll see what I can come up with, stuff that I can't take as much long form content on as Instagram. I can bring over here just to be able to kind of speak. I want to plan to shoot around for at least one video a month. If this starts doing well, then I'll try and do once a week, and we can go from there. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Share this video to any of our tall brethren. Any short kings that may have found this video. You guys keep cracking at it too. You guys have such a potential for strength and size and that pound for pound strength that I just don't think I'll ever reach. So you guys keep cracking at it too. Let's build a good community around this, and let's just see where we can really go over the long term with our potential for natural bodybuilding. Thank you guys.